Well, today we're going to be talking about one of the most controversial topics in the narcissistic abuse healing community, and that is, should you forgive your narcissistic abuser? I'm actually a little bit excited about this video because I'm doing something I've never done before, and that is I'm going to be showing you clips of an old video that I posted that I don't necessarily agree with my own statements anymore. Granted, this video was posted a long time ago when I was first doing all this. I've grown quite a lot since then. Now I am going to share what I do think is most important for us towards the end of the video, but first let's talk about why this is such a controversial topic in the first place. So just like any controversy, you're gonna have people on two different sides of the fence. You're gonna have people over here that believe that, we'll just call them the pro-forgiveness side, that they absolutely do believe that you have to do it. And then you have people on this side of the fence that don't believe that it's necessary. There's valid arguments on both sides of the fence. So for people that are pro-forgiveness, they really do believe that it's important because it's not really about the other person, it's about you and about letting go of what they've done to you, which I think is a valid argument. And then you have the people over here that think that it's absolutely not necessary because there's things that are just simply unforgivable. And you know what? That's a completely valid argument too. The thing that I don't like, well, you know what? Before I tell you the thing that I don't like, let me just show you a clip from the old video that I'm talking about. So I'm going to share a potentially unpopular opinion on why I believe forgiving your abusers is necessary. I'm already going to stop it right there. That statement that I made where I think that it's necessary, I 100% completely retract. Now here's why I retract that particular statement in that video. It's because what I have learned through coaching people and just growing as a person and learning about the healing journey of not just my own, but other people, is I don't think it's my job, or any other coach's job for that matter, to tell someone what is necessary for their own healing journey. And I'm honestly really grateful that I've learned this lesson, because what I do in my coaching calls is I don't tell people what they should or should not do. I may give questions for them to think about and for them to reflect and weigh pros and cons on certain decisions, but I would rather my clients make the decision on their own to empower themselves in their healing journey. Did I choose to forgive my narcissistic abuser? Yes, I did, but that was also a very spiritually based practice, and not everybody has the same exact spiritual beliefs that I do. I stand by that for me and my healing journey, it was the best decision for me. But I also understand that not every decision that I made is the best decision for other people. So I'm going to go ahead and make a formal apology from that video from well over a year ago. I don't agree with that anymore. Now, because I am honest and I do share the fact that yes, I did choose to forgive, I have people ask me all the time, well, how did you even do that in the first place? And I have to tell you, it was an extremely hard decision for me to make, and I want to kind of break down some reasons as why it was so difficult for me to even wrap my own brain around forgiveness. Reason number one, there were so many injustices associated with this relationship. I really had it in my head when I was in the heart of my anger phase that he had all these people fooled and nobody really knew him for who he really was. Once I was able to kind of move past the anger and think a little bit more logically, to me it just made sense why he's not able to sustain relationships, whether it be platonic, a work environment, or even romantic relationships. And that's because over time, he exposes himself of who he is and his character. The people that may still be fooled about him were the ones that he kept at arm's distance that don't really have the opportunity for him to expose himself to, because it's either they live hours away, they've not seen each other in years, or the relationship is predominantly based on social media. The second reason is because he seemed to have gotten away with so many things. And again, this is kind of related to the injustice part, but specifically, I felt this way when it came to him cheating, because he was chronically cheating the last 5 months of our relationship. And for me, it's like he got away with it. You know, he was doing it behind my back, even though I felt it in my gut that it was going on. I couldn't find proof about it. And I kept replaying it over and over in my head, like what I could have done differently in order to find him and bust him in the act and like all this. But the reality was he didn't get away with it. I ended up finding out. The truth ended up coming to the forefront. So even though it didn't happen the way that I wanted it to, he still didn't get away with it. The third reason for me was he just moved on, and he just like started living his life after causing all this damage in mine with no remorse, no care in the world. He's off partying it up like a rock star, and I'm over here really cleaning up all of the emotional damage and wreckage that he caused in my life. And then lastly was, and every survivor of narcissistic abuse deals with this one, I know for a fact, is there is a lack of accountability to his actions. And it wasn't just even the lack of accountability on the cheating part that I was having a hard time with, because I knew even if I told him or I sent him the screenshots, which by the way I ended up doing, and he didn't take accountability. He still denied it. He still tried to gaslight me and make me feel crazy and all of this. By that time, fortunately, I'd already seen him for who he was, so it didn't really work. But during the relationship, there was this whole lack of accountability for all of this stuff. And for me, I was really wanting that accountability because it was gonna lead to closure. And it was hard for me to like get to this point where I can forgive and let go of it because I wanted him to be held accountable. Now, there's still parts of that old video that I do agree with because I go into what forgiveness was for me. So I want you to listen to this part. And if you have a hard time with the word forgiveness, just remove that word for a second and just listen to the heart behind why I chose it.
Forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is actually an inward work that's done in us. Forgiveness is not about releasing people responsibility of their actions. Forgiveness is not accepting their actions as being okay. Forgiveness is not necessarily letting people back into your life. Forgiveness is about not letting the chains that their actions put on you continue to hold you down.
Now, how I would reword that now is I would reword it in a way of letting go. Because here's the thing, whether you choose the route of forgiveness, whether you choose a different spiritual route of letting things go or finding peace, that's the part that for me is important. The term that's associated with it or the specific practice, that's honestly not important to me. What is important is the part where I was talking about, where it has nothing to do with them. Because ultimately, when you let go of something, it is about your own peace, and it is about being able to move forward with your life without this having a negative burden and negative effect that carries over into other areas of your life. It is about you, and it is about your peace, and it is about what is going to bring you closer to healing. It absolutely has nothing to do with them, and it especially doesn't allow you to forget it, and it doesn't give them space to come back into your life. Now, you can watch the full video here, but again, just be nice. I made that a long time ago, and I've grown. Now, what do I think is the most important part of this whole topic of discussion? And again, it has nothing to do with the narcissistic abuser. It has everything to do with you. I believe the most important thing that you can do in your healing journey in regards to this is actually forgiving yourself. Again, I've worked with countless people at this point one-on-one. I've talked to thousands of people in comments and DMs. And the thing that I see almost all of us deal with is the anger that we have towards ourselves. Whether it is how long we stayed in the relationship, or how many times we left or went back, or that... I guess we'll just sit here and wait for it to stop. Like I was saying, most of us are really angry with ourselves about something. And what I was doing, and not necessarily everybody does this, but what I did a lot was I was channeling the anger that I had about myself and towards myself, and I took that and I channeled it to him, and I just stayed angry with him, because it's so much easier to be angry with somebody else than to admit how angry I was at my own self. So how did I do this? The first and most important thing that I had to do was I had to remind myself of the mindset that I was in when I was in this relationship. It wasn't that I was stupid. It wasn't that I was an idiot. There were several other factors to it. I was masterfully manipulated. I was afraid of being alone. I didn't want to go through essentially a second divorce. I was trying to keep my family together as much as possible. I was also really, truly trying to help him. And what I had to stop doing was I had to stop holding my past self to the knowledge and the standards that my present self had. And I had to start looking back at that person that was in this relationship with more grace than judgment. The two things that I hope the most for you is that you're able to forgive yourself, and you're also able to let go of the chains and the heaviness of the chains that their actions have put on you. And if you need any help with this, please don't hesitate to reach out.